Come out to the coast, we'll get together, we'll have a few laughs. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I have something a little special for you. I was going to save it and give it to you on Boxing Day, but the Christmas spirit got to me and I thought, screw it, you guys can have it early. So today I am reviewing Die Hard, directed by John Mctiernan and starring Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman and Reginald VelJohnson. To give you a brief rundown of the plot of Die Hard without spoiling anything for you, because if you haven't seen it, this is me telling you to go and see it. John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, is a cop who is visiting his somewhat estranged wife at Christmas by surprise at her work party. However, little do they know, a group of terrorists have decided to hijack this Christmas party and hold the business to ransom with hostages inside. John McClane very quickly becomes the right man at the right place at the right time, and it becomes his duty to get the hostages out of this situation in one piece. Before we go any further though, if you could be a dear, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does help me and the channel massively, and we thank you if you do. So jumping straight into the movie, I think the best thing about Die Hard is the pacing. It is electric. This thing never feels like it stops to breathe, but it does. It's just that when it does stop to breathe, it always gives you something fascinating, interesting, plot development, character building. It always gives you something juicy, even in the quieter moments, and that's why it feels so non-stop. It's such an incredibly impressive juggling act of keeping the tension, keeping the intensity, whilst developing these characters, developing the relationships between the characters, making the location come to life, bringing characters outside of the location to life. There is so many plates being spun here, and yet the film seems to spin all of them seamlessly, and that really is my favourite thing about Die Hard. The plot is set up so nicely and quickly, without anything really even being said. There's clues as to what's going on straight out the gate. When John McClane is getting off the plane to go and see his wife, he sort of comes to a halt with a very attractive air hostess, and it doesn't actually go anywhere, but she seems to be interested in him and he very much seems to be interested in her, and you wonder why that didn't go anywhere. Is there a confidence issue? What is it? But obviously, as we discover, it's because he's here to try and rescue his marriage as it is. And maybe sleeping with an air hostess isn't going to be the way forward to do that. Not a word is said in any of that moment, and yet it's so geniusly delivered. It really does give you some character depth to what John McClane is like. He is a loyal man. I haven't remembered the actress's name, so I will put it up on screen quickly, but she meets Bruce Willis so perfectly with almost an identical performance, just reversed. She is coming at this situation from the female's perspective. They also have a really good biting chemistry between each other. They feel like a couple. You will look at them and you will see yourself and someone you've been in love with in that couple there. When you see them, your eyes do just light up, even when you're furious with them, when they've done something that really piss you off, but they come around and they've brought some chocolates with them. Your heart melts a little bit. You can't help it. That's what these two are like. You can see it. They have these beautiful little moments where you can tell deep down they love each other. Maybe they're a little bit too stubborn to admit it to each other, but give it 5 minutes and they'll be at each other's throats again. But it's never nasty. It always feels like they love each other. Despite their arguments, despite their issues, despite their differences, it always felt like they loved each other, and I think that's so good on a performance standard. Continuing with the performances, the terrorists are great in this movie as well. Every single one of them has a personality, and you can understand how they've somewhat come to this position in their lives. Some of them are related to each other, so you think maybe, well, if one of them got involved, the other one quickly tagged along. Some of the terrorists are much closer allies to the leader in Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber, which makes you wonder, are they like the sheep being led by the sheepdog perhaps? How far back do they go? So many films, especially more so today, would just make these characters henchman A, henchman B, henchman C. They would have no backstory, they'd have no believability to them, and they would just be there to be killed off. Not in Die Hard. You know their names, you understand why they're here, you get the sense that they're maybe starting to doubt the plan as it unfolds. You also sense that they maybe have done things like this before. They are all very experienced with weaponry, and they do have a very good and fairly airtight game plan until certain points, which I won't spoil. They don't miss a beat with this film. If you are in this film, if you're a part of this story, you are important, and they make sure that you are found to be important. They bring it 100% here, and I love it. Of course, how can I not talk about Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber? If you're asking me, he is one of the greatest movie villains of all time.
Nice suit. John Phillips, London. I have two myself.
He's suave, he's sophisticated, he's intelligent. He seems really nice, actually. Despite the actions that he does, he always seems to be apologetic. He sort of almost recognizes that he is a nuisance on these people's lives and that he's genuinely sorry to have to do this. It's like his back's against the wall and he has no other option, and I won't hurt you as long as you work with me. And I don't know, there's a strange part of the psyche that seems to be accepting towards that, rather than someone coming in and blasting everybody and setting bombs and stuff. Neither are good. Neither are good situations, but for some reason we kind of go, oh, heck, he's in a bad spot, let him off. I don't know why we do that, but we do. And it's very clever that the film does that. It makes you like this guy when you probably shouldn't. And you very quickly realize that you shouldn't, because you start to find out that he is just incredibly manipulative. He is putting on an act. It is a persona. It's almost like he can chameleon shape himself to the situation and get the outcome that he needs. If you're being defiant towards him, he will probably put his arm around you and tell you, you're doing a good job. You hang in there, but could you get this job done for me? That's a good chap. And he'll send you on his way. And then as soon as you've left the room, he'll go, idiot. And that's such a good, interesting villain. You just want to stay in his presence, find out more about him, know what makes him tick. I think Hans Gruber is a fascinating character that Alan Rickman poured so much life into. It's an incredible role. It's iconic.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Another incredible positive about this movie, yes, there's going to be a lot of them, the use of Walkie Talkies. When I mentioned earlier, actually when you think about this thing, the characters are really spaced out from each other. This is a 200 and something floor building. There's people on the ground level, there's people on the roof, there's people in the middle, there's people on the fourth floor. It's so spaced out, and yet a simple device as a walkie-talkie allows these people to communicate with each other. You know, they don't even just rest on it there. They do this really clever thing where they know that Hans Gruber and John McClane have not actually yet met. They don't know what each other looks like. They recognize each other's voices. They know that they're the fly in the ointment for each other, but they don't really know what they're going up against. And it becomes this game of guess who through walkie-talkies as the film goes on.
How does he know so much about this?
This is very kind of you. I assume you are a mysterious party crasher. You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, Hans, wrong guess. Would you like to go for double jeopardy where the scores can really change?
It's brilliant. It's genius. It makes for fantastic dialogue. Again, it adds to the character development of this wily, manipulative, evil man against the very inspector detective. It's so good. It's just so fucking good. I'm sorry I'm getting excited, but it really is ace. I find the action in this movie to be absolutely palpable. It's so broken tooth and bloody bone. It's so visceral. It feels unprepared. He never went in there with, helmet, riot shield, bulletproof, whatever. He was taking a shower when they turned up, and therefore he's in a wife beater and he's barefoot, and there's broken glass all over the place. He's having to use a fire hose to levy himself down the building. He's going through crawl spaces of elevators to try and find his way around the building. That's where the believability is. Do you know what I mean? You probably won't ever have to single-handedly take down a building of terrorists on your own. Fingers crossed, touch wood. But if you do, this is probably how it would play out, because you aren't going to have a 12-gauge shotgun and grenades on your belt. You're going to be caught red-handed with your pants down, and you're going to have to get your way out of it. Incredible, brilliant filmmaking, great tension building. Again, it's just so smart and such a genius way to go about it. Now, despite all the many praises I've said, you will be surprised to know that I actually do have some flaws for this movie. They are very, very small though, so don't take it too heavily handed. There's one moment in the film where John McClane puts some C4 on a computer chair and he pushes it down the elevator chute to blow up one of the floors beneath him. I get the concept, but when you actually see the explosion, that thing seemed to wipe out an entire floor. The chute that he drops it down is like quite literally a bottomless pit. He can't see the bottom of it. I get pulled out the movie because how did he know that was going to work? How did he know that was going to land on the floor he needed it to? How did he know it was even going to explode? Did he know the C4 was good? It could have been there for donkeys. It could have been faulty. It just comes across a little bit convenient for me. I mean, you know, what if he got the wrong floor and he took out the entire floor of hostages? That would have ended horribly. The film would literally have to end right there and then. That is a bit of a moment for me where I'm like, not sure about that one. I'm sure there probably is a really obvious explanation for it, but it has always stood out to me a little bit, just a little bit. I find this movie so memorable and quotable. I find myself watching it and literally saying it back as it's about to be said. My personal favourite one is...
I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna fucking cook you! I'm gonna fucking eat you!
That is such a fucking gangster line. It just is. Like, imagine kicking the shit out of someone and just telling them that, like, I'm gonna fucking eat you. That's just cold. I love it. It's just beautiful.
Should have heard your brother squeal when I broke his fucking neck!
It's so good. It's just iconic. It's memorable. The lines, the dialogues, the action is palpable. I truly struggle to find a flaw with this movie. The two little things I mentioned earlier, like I say, I barely even count them as flaws. They are just tiny little nitpicks. That's how brilliant this movie is. Die Hard absolutely gets an 11 out of 10.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I'm very proud to announce that it has become the 5th inductee into the IMO Hall of Fame. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And leave a comment too. What do you think of Die Hard? Do you like the franchise as a whole? Are some of them a little bit hit and miss for you? Let me know in the comment section below. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.